So far in this journey through the evolution of drum set and drumming and drum playing and cool things related to drums, we've talked about a lot of different things, everything from ragtime to early jazz to big band swing and rhythm and blues and bebop. But now we're moving into the 1950s, and the next date we're going to focus on is 1954, because we're moving into what's going to be a huge style that's going to be a game changer for everyone and lead us to where we are today, which is the style, of course, of rock and roll. Now, a lot of different things contributed to rock and roll. Rock and roll didn't just fall from the sky, fully formed the way we think of it today. It evolved out of all these other things we've talked about and kind of came together in some cool ways. So one of the key elements of rock and roll was a style called Rockabilly. Okay, now maybe you've heard about Rockabilly and you think, well, it's something to do with the South, I think, something to do with country music. Well, you're pretty close. Rockabilly was a style that evolved in the South, in places like Arkansas and Texas and Tennessee. And it was essentially taking country music, the style of country music, and adding drums and a more of a beefed up sound to it. So drums play a really key role in the evolution of rockabilly as a sound. Other styles like jazz or rhythm and blues had drums, since their inception. But country music was an acoustic form that had come from Europe originally, and they had resisted having drums. Drums, and the drum set especially, was not a part of the country sound. But as we get into the 1950s, so many other styles of popular music are using drums that the people in the country world start to say, okay, if we're going to stay current with our music, we need to start adding drums. So the drums start to show up in country music, and especially in this style called rockabilly. Now, rockabilly, kind of ground zero of where rockabilly happened, was a record label in Memphis, Tennessee called Sun Records. Some of the names that you may have heard of guys who got their start at Sun Records include Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison recorded there. And these guys all headed to the Memphis area to get to they were all doing this cool rockabilly sound. So what was rockabilly? Well, the sound of rockabilly, a lot of it is driven not by the drums so much as by the bass. And a lot of times you hear clicking, kind of a chick going on rockabilly records, and a lot of people think that's actually the drums. Well, believe it or not, that is the sound of what we call the slap bass. This goes back a ways to the evolution of country before there was drums, and they used the bass to create the rhythm. So the bass would go tuck-a-tuck-a-tuck. They'd literally let the strings slap off the neck of the bass, and you get this very particular kind of sound. You also had what was called a dead string guitar, where they would take a dollar bill or some paper and weave it into the strings, and you'd literally hear just a dead sound, no chords, just a sound, a rhythmic sound. And so, the drums in a lot of the earliest rockabilly had to almost be quiet. They had to be played with brushes because, again, drums was a new thing in the world of country, and they were like, I don't know how much drums we really want here. We'll give you a little bit, but you got to, play brushes. So some of the biggest hits of early rockabilly sound, including Blue Suede Shoes, which was played by a drummer named W.S. Holland, he had to use brushes on that thing. But when you get that slap bass going, and you get the brushes going, and you get the chicka-chicka-chick of the dead string guitar all meshing together, and you put a little chicken-picking guitar over the top of that, now you have a sound that's not quite rhythm and blues, not quite country, not quite rock and roll. It's kind of all of these things, and that's what's rockabilly. Who can tell me what made a drum set a drum set?
The low boy.
Kick pedal.
Match grip.
The sock cymbal.
My name is Daniel Glass. I'm a drummer, author, and educator. In 1994, I joined a band called Royal Crown Revue. We were trying to figure out how to take the rebellious spirit of modern styles like punk and put it into big band and other roots music. We found out it was already there. I've been absorbed in this world ever since. I started researching the evolution of the drum set and the way that we play it. In the last dozen years, I've interviewed more than 60 different legendary drummers. I came to a startling conclusion. Perhaps more than any other instrument, the drum set is equipped to tell the story of America and American music.
All of these immigrants coming from around the world brought their technology. Jazz music and pop music were one and the same. You could dance to it.